Do you like my shirt?
Yes, it's cute. I do.
Thank you. For those listening at home, I'm wearing my cousin's rowing shirt. If you know, you know. If you're listening to this app, you probably know.
I'm sure they know. And if they don't, they should.
Who are you?
Whoever you want me to be.
Don't say I never gave you anything.
It's feeling epic.
3 words. 8 letters.
I remember everything.
Hello, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back, listeners. This is our second episode of Previously on Teen TV. I'm Jillian Benani.
I'm Claire Wojciechowski.
Hello, Claire. We have a very special episode today. We are very excited.
Yeah.
Claire, tell me how excited you are.
You know, I feel like this really rejuvenated our interest in the teen drama genre. Like we've loved these shows. We've talked about how much we love these shows for so long, but when season 2 came back around, I feel like you and I both clicked in and we were like, we're obsessed. We have to talk about this all the time. And now we want to share that obsession with everyone else who is obsessed.
Yes. Obsessed is putting it lowly, I feel like.
Yeah.
Whatever the word is.
Mildly?
Yeah, mildly, not lowly, mildly. Yeah, obsessed is putting it mildly. Today we are talking all about The Summer I Turned Pretty, the show of the summer, the show of my 30s. Who knew at 32 I would love this teen show so much. It's taking up everything in my brain. It's all I'm thinking about.
Truly. And if it makes you feel better, I just turned 33 and I feel the same way. And I think, we've seen a few ladies on TikTok who are like, I'm 43, married with kids, but I'm obsessed with this show. And I'm like, thank God we're not the only ones.
It's not just us. There is something about it, and we're going to break that all down today. We're going to get into season 1. We're going to talk all about season 2 and the latest episode 7 of season 2, which was a wild episode. So we're going to get all into it today. We are so excited to talk about it. This is also mainly what we talk about when we get together. So I feel like I'm glad that we're bringing it to an audience now.
Truly. Every time we see each other, it's just nonstop talk about, Team Conrad, Team Belly, Team Jeremiah, although we're on the same team and we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about that. Before we get into the episode, just a warning, we will be talking about all of season 1 as well as all the episodes that have aired for season 2 of The Summer I Turned Pretty. So that is everything but the season 2 finale. So if you have not caught up on the show, beware. We're talking about it all. But I feel like let's first talk about a little bit why, how did we get into this show? Why are we so obsessed with this? So I feel like when this show was announced, I started reading the books because I wanted to get ahead of it. Mm-hmm. And, I really loved To All the Boys on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Big Jenny Han fan, so I dove into these books, and I thought the books were pretty good. I will say this, I was addicted to the books. I could not stop reading it. I literally booked a conference room at work and started reading it because I couldn't stop. I had to know what was going to happen. But I thought, it's interesting because I thought the books were pretty good, but it's clear they were written a while ago. Mm-hmm. So there were things that I didn't love about the books. I actually thought Belly was kind of annoying in the books.
I remember you telling me that when you were reading them, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was because it was written earlier, so it's she just was a little more prudish, which I thought was kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's not my favorite teen girl trope. It's been done, and I just feel like we've seen it enough.
Completely.
I want a modern girly.
Completely agree, but I feel like they have completely modernized it for their TV show, which I love. And I feel like they've done that with a lot of aspects from the book. So I actually think the TV show is better than the books, which I know people, that's controversial to say. People are always the books are better. I think this TV show adaptation is better than the books. And I think it is because Jenny Han is so involved in the TV show. So we're getting the creators perspective still. Like, she knows these characters better than anyone. So I feel like her being so involved in being a showrunner on the show has been really helpful for that, to like still pay homage to the books, but just elevate it a little bit more for the TV show and give us a little bit more. But what made you love it? Like, you know, what made you like binge it, addicted to it?
I think the same as you. I was planning to read the books before the show came out last year. And I started the first one and then stopped. And I was like, just tell me what happens. Like, I sort of was like, I don't need to. I'll just watch the show. I didn't watch the show last summer. I think in my brain, I was like, well, maybe I'll eventually catch up. I'll read the books and then I'll go back and start season 1. And then when season 2 was coming out this year, I was like, screw that. I'm just going to jump in to the TV show. And I watched season 1, and like 5 minutes in of episode 1, I was like, oh, I love this. I'm obsessed with this. This is exactly the type of show that I enjoy. Booked it through season 1 very quickly, and then caught up on season 2 right before episode 6 dropped of season 2. And I think it's the same reasons that you expressed. Like, I think because Jenny Han is involved, it feels like these characters are modern, they're true. And also, I too was a fan of the To All the Boys books and the films. I think I did like those books better maybe than the movies, but it's different series, a different format, movie to TV. And so
yeah, I think that they're just able to like expand on a little bit more in a TV format rather than a movie. And I do think this show did a good job of hooking you right away. Like, when they're driving into Cousins, you're like, oh my God, I want to go there. Like, it just looks like so beautiful, and it's so summery, and like they really capture that like magic of the summer, like at that age of like being a teenager, and like anything could happen. Like, your life could change over a summer, Like, remember that feeling?
I do. And every summer I'd be like, maybe this is the year that things will turn around. And like, nothing major ever happened to me. It was, I had plenty of fun summers, but nothing quite like Belly experiences.
No. Belly has quite the summers, I would say. I feel like another thing though about this show that I think kind of like sets it apart a little bit is I do think the cast that they have is like good. Like, which like, I know I say that like with hesitation. No, I more say it with hesitation because I do think that like they got some really good actors on this show for a teen show. And sometimes it's like, all those old CW shows, it's like a little bit like hit or miss sometimes on some of those people. But I think on this one, like, I think Lola Tung as Belly is really good. I think she brings like a lot to the character.
Yeah, I think she's sort of the central focus. Obviously, she's the central focus of the show, but I think if her performance wasn't believable, none of it would matter. It all would fall apart. So I think she's great. I think the brothers are so different but so right for those characters. And again, I didn't finish the books, but I read even a little bit of them, and I think you get a sense of who they're supposed to be. And I think that both of those actors do a great job of capturing those personalities without, too much material. I feel like there's not a ton of dialogue, but it's just the look of them, the sort of energy that they bring to the roles is really spot on.
I agree. And I think we just got to say, like, I think Conrad, Chris Briney, gravitas. Like,
we've thrown that word around a lot.
We think he has such gravitas. I don't know if it's just that middle part in his hair or if I'm like blinded by that. I don't know. But I'm like, this guy's a good actor. Like, he's really bringing something to this.
I mean, I, for one, am sort of a sucker for like the brooding guy who like is always like a little sad and a little, mysterious or just sort of like dejected. He's always moping a little bit. And I mean, I know it's a little cliche, and sometimes you're like, in real life, those guys are like, they suck, and, she should be with someone else. But on my screen, I love a sad boy.
I feel like that's totally something like from our like generation a little bit more too.
Oh my gosh.
Like, and I think though that sometimes like people when they watch these shows, they're like, oh, that guy is like, he's so horrible though. Like, it's like toxic. And I'm like, I mean, it's more fun to watch though. Like,
right.
The toxicity sometimes it's like, well, it's good to watch. Like, I wouldn't want my friend to date that guy, but this isn't my friend. So it just brings, like, it makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah. And I do think there's a fine line between behavior that's toxic and, like, someone who's, like, a teenage boy who hasn't gotten his shit figured out yet. Like, he's a young person who, like I didn't know anything at 18, 19. Like, I, probably would have been, I did treat people not the best way, not because I intended to. And I think that we need to sort of remember that, like, a toxic boyfriend is not the same as, not a great boyfriend, if that makes sense. Like, there's a middle ground. I agree.
There. You explained that much better. And I want to just clear up that is my viewpoint. I'm not saying that
we don't want toxic men on our screen.
No, I'm not for toxicity, but I think that you're right. I think that there's a difference of, like, a teenage boy not being able to, like, express his feelings in the right way, which is very, that is what happens. No one knows how to, like, speak at that age.
No, your brain's not fully developed at that age. Like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, give them a break.
Let's get into it. I want to talk a little bit about season 1 before we get into season 2. Let's just kind of, like, quickly get into it. Give us a little recap, season 1.
Okay, I prepared this, and I am just hitting the high notes, so God help us.
We love a prepared girly. All right, give us 30 seconds. Give us a recap.
Count me down. It's going to be a little over 30 seconds, but we're going to try.
No, I'm cutting you off, Claire.
Fine.
I pulled up my calculator. Like, that's going to do anything. It's like I've never used a phone before.
Stopwatch.
Okay. Got it. All right, ready and begin.
Okay, Belly Conklin is 15. She's almost 16. She's been going to her mom's friend Susanna's beach house in Cousins, Massachusetts every summer for her whole life. She and her older brother Stephen have grown up with Susanna's 2 sons, Conrad and Jeremiah. Belly's had a crush on Jeremiah for years. This summer, though, Conrad's been acting aloof, which we later learn is because his mom's cancer has returned. She doesn't want the kids to know until after they have one last perfect summer in the house. She starts dating a boy named Cam Cameron, but she still likes Conrad, so she breaks up with Cam Cameron. Belly and Conrad almost kiss, but then Jeremiah interrupts them. Jeremiah has feelings for Belly. They make out a little bit.
30
but
seconds.
After the truth about Susanna comes out, Conrad tells Belly he wants her, and then they kiss on the beach, and that's where we end season 1.
All right. That was perfect. 35 seconds. That was close. Okay, I do just want to clear one thing up. You said Belly has had a crush on Jeremiah for years.
Did I? Oh, no.
It's Conrad, as we all know. But
my bad.
We know what you meant.
That is an important clarification. Crucial.
No, that was great. So season 1, so much stuff happens. We're introduced to these characters. I will say, here's what I love about season 1. These feel like actual teenagers. Like, they talk like teenagers. They have parties, but they're not, like, complete assholes. Like, I kind of feel like everyone is a little bit of everything. Like, you can't necessarily, like, stereotype each person into, like, a box. Like, everyone, I feel like, does have, like, a bit of layers to their character that they were able to, like, bring that into season 1. I love that we also have, like, events in this. We have a 4th of July party. We have a Deb Ball. I mean, Deb Ball is just classic teen show device, and I will never be sick of it.
I love a Deb Ball. They're so preposterous, and I mean, I've never experienced one. I know they do exist, but they up the stakes for a teen drama.
Do you know anyone who's done a Deb Ball? Like, do they really exist, or do they exist on these shows?
No, I think they do exist. I don't know anyone who's done them, but I think they're just not that big I think they're big in certain cultures.
What did you love about this season?
Season 1?
Yeah, we're still on season 1.
Okay, just checking. No, I think it sort of does a great job of setting up the history amongst the characters and how, like, deep it is and how much, without understanding this long history that they all have, the stakes of these relationships aren't as important. Like, we need to know that, like, she's had a crush on Conrad for years, and why, and the whole family, like, everyone knows it. They all see it. They all have mixed feelings about it. It's why it's sort of a surprise when Jeremiah is like, I like you too, because we haven't, that thought hasn't really entered her head until he says something to her. And I do think it is nice to have a teen show where, like, there's high stakes in some senses with Susanna's health, but also, we're not talking about drug addictions and pregnancy and there's no teenager who's like holding anyone at gunpoint. Like, and I love some of those ridiculous plot lines, but it's nice to like watch a show and not worry about these people. Like, I feel for them, and I'm like, oh, I don't want them to get hurt, but I'm not concerned about them. And it's sort of, so I think that it makes it like an easy watch in that way.
Yeah, I think that is why it feels like they're more like real teenagers and it's like a little bit more realistic. And I think that people can say like, oh, she has like both these brothers like going after her. Like, is that realistic? But I would say that they do such a good job of setting up that backstory that like I believe it. And I think it makes sense of like, I do honestly think that like, you girls at that age like do change, and all of a sudden it like happens like that.
100%.
And then both of these boys are like viewing her differently, and seeing her differently. And
she turned pretty.
That summer she turned pretty. Never forget.
Did you have a summer that you turned pretty?
You know,
you felt that at least. Like, did you ever feel that way?
That's a good question. I always say I feel like maybe it wasn't a summer, but it was like my like junior year of high school, more so like second semester-ish.
Okay.
So I feel like it was like when I was like not till I was like 17, 15, still a little rough over there.
I getcha.
Late bloomer. But,
Same.
And I do think that it is like people are like, you kind of just more notice people like looking at you and boys talking to you and, you just feel like a little bit more grown up. It definitely happens, I think. What about you?
Yeah. I would say same. I would say maybe my dumb answer was going to be I got bangs, like side bangs at the end of sophomore year.
Okay, wait, those were hot though.
They
were in style. I had them too.
I was nervous to get them, and my two friends, they like talked me into it. They're like, you have to get bangs, you're gonna look so cute. And I got them, and then I remember coming to school and they were like, you look amazing. But I don't think I really felt fully like pretty and like or whatever until probably like my senior year.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, also tied to just like the fact of being a senior and being the oldest, in the school and feeling more confident in all of that. But
yeah, I feel like I like didn't really learn how to like smile in photos till I was like 17 or something. Like photos of me pre-17 like were really not great. Like I didn't have my eyebrows done. It was a whole thing.
Yeah. I figured out my hair in senior year, which is, again, my hair is not complicated, but like I finally like learned how to straighten it properly because that's what we were doing in 2007.
I started wearing yoga pants and, things started to happen. Changes lives.
It does, yeah.
But yeah, I definitely do. I think that the love triangle was set up so well in season 1. I loved that they did bring Jeremy in play in season 1, which is, they did not kiss in the books in book 1. And I know that they probably were like, we got to set this up earlier for the TV show so people like understand what's happening here. And I did love it because honestly, when her and Jeremiah kissed in that pool in season 1, I was kind of like, oh,
yeah,
hello. I didn't hate it. Because Conrad was being annoying. So I thought that they just did a good job of setting it all up and kind of having her like torn between the two brothers, especially in those like last couple of episodes.
Totally. And then also the fact that they do kiss and it's not just him saying, hey, I like you, obviously makes it more dramatic. They're, again, I feel like I keep using the word, but the stakes are higher because there's been this a few times, they kiss a few times or whatever. And I think because they do that, it's a lot more impactful when you get to the events of season 2.
Kiss and a boob touch, let's not forget.
I will never forget the boob touch, for better or worse. Like,
I was like, oh my God, what am I watching?
I know, but I also was like, it's fine. Like, I try to remember, like, they're supposed to be teenagers and it's not, smooth.
That was a big moment for her.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Cam Cameron one bit in this.
There's a reason.
I was not a Cam Cameron fan. Like, people are like, oh, we love Cam Cameron. Like, I don't. Like, I don't get it. It was cute. It was sweet. But, like, come on. She had those 2 boys living in her house with her.
I know.
Why is she going to go after Cam Cameron? Like, I'm glad they didn't drag that on for too long. Like, we ended him in, like, episode
I think it's
6,
5.
I think. 5 or 6?
It's 5, right?
Yeah, you're right. It is 5, yeah.
Because it's the same episode where is that the same episode as the pool kiss?
I think it is. The pool kiss happens at the end of that episode. It's like, bye, Cam Cameron. Try with Conrad. Doesn't work. I'm going to kiss Jeremiah. I love it. You gotta idolize this girl. Come on.
She's 16 and she is going after it. Like, whatever you might, think about Belly, I admire her, like, willingness to pursue what she wants or who she wants for, consequences be damned. I was not that confident at 15 or 16. In anything in my life, so
that is why I do really like Belly as a character, because they really do show her, like, going after it and, like, saying her feelings. Like, she goes to Conrad and is like, well, we almost kissed. Like,
yes.
Like, who, I think that is just, like, such a good, like, representation to have on the screen of her, like, bringing up her feelings and saying it and not being shy that she has, like, a crush on him.
Right.
And I think like, you got to root for her because she is, like, going after what she wants. And I loved that about her.
I mean, even in, like, episode 2, she calls him out on being like, you're playing with my feelings, and not knowing that he, like, because at that point, she has no idea that he actually has feelings. She thinks that he's just, having fun messing with her. And, like, if that were me, I would just pretend that I had no feelings until someone else acknowledged. Like, until he acknowledged it to me, I would be like, nope, I got nothing.
Oh, yeah, that was,
at
like,
that
totally
age,
my move at that age. Like,
I was like, nope.
I'm aloof. I don't care. I don't care what you do. No.
Same.
I'm not going to say
cool
how
girl.
I feel. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm so cool. Yeah, no, I mean,
yeah.
You're so right. That scene where she calls him out for crashing the date.
Yes.
And is like, you knew what you were doing. Like, I think that scene made me, like, a fan of hers. I was like, okay, I like this. And I think that they're making her much more vocal than she was in the books. And I was a fan.
Yeah.
Other things I loved in season 1, the volleyball. I thought that was really fun. Just throwing that out there.
No, it was, I thought it was cute. And I liked that we got to see her in a different environment and see, like, her being this competitive, athlete. And also I love her friendship with Taylor. I love how they support each other. And even though they had that sort of hiccup when, Taylor and Steven make out, which I don't think Belly handled that well personally. I was like, you could have been a little bit kinder.
I agree.
But, they get over it and they come together, and Taylor is still there to fake an injury in order to help her and Jeremy get together.
Yeah, I really do love Taylor, and I feel like we're especially seeing, like, in season 2, like, Taylor is such a good, like, best friend character. She's so supportive. She's so funny. I feel like she's reminiscent of, like, a lot of our other, like, favorite best friend characters, a la, like, Summer Roberts, like, Brooke Davis, like, maybe somebody who wasn't really supposed to be super involved in season 1, and then it's kind of a little bit of a scene stealer, so we're giving her more stuff to do. I really love their friendship, and I think that I also liked, though, the little, like, kind of hiccup that they had of, like, you think you're the main character, no, you think you're the main, like, I thought that was, like, realistic of teen girls. For sure. So let's get into season 2. Very different tone from season 1. I think. Like, season 2, we have the cloud of Susanna's death over everybody, and we're really seeing how everyone's handling it, which is not great. No one's handling it well, which is to be expected. But I kind of love, like, the emotional, like, aspect of season 2. Like, it is cutting me to the core, and I love it. Like, I think I've cried a couple episodes. Like, it is, I just think they upped the ante in season 2, and I am loving it.
I agree. I think season 1 was sort of this, they talk about the house being magical all the time, and season 1, I think, was very much that. You're in this magical setting, and everything is just sort of happening for Belly for the first time, and she's so excited. And season 2 is really like the bubble has been burst, and the house is empty, Susanna's gone, and she's really having to deal with, sort of this big adult loss for what seems to be the first time. They're all dealing with this big adult loss for seemingly like the first time in their lives. But I love it, and I love the different timeline that we're getting. I love that it's all happening over the course of like a week, maybe, or less. I think 4 or 5 days. Yeah,
I think right now, like, it's been at least at max, like while they're at the beach, it's only been like a week. So we've definitely gotten a lot of flashbacks this season, which I'm loving. Mm-hmm. I think it is nice to see them like outside the beach house. Like we're seeing people in school. We're seeing them celebrate Thanksgiving together.
Yes. We got to go to the boardwalk this season, which was fun.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it does definitely feel like bigger than season 1. Okay, so I feel like it's time to jump in to the love triangle here, which is really like one of the bigger parts of the show. So are you Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah?
I think there is only one correct answer to this question, and it is Team Conrad.
I completely agree. I am also Team Conrad for our listeners. So I'm sorry to fans of Team Jeremiah that we don't have another opinion. I wish we did, but I just don't think that you're right. There is not another right opinion. There are some things I can say about like Jeremiah, but let's start off. Why are you Team Conrad? Like why is he your guy?
I think that I don't know. I think that to me, yes, Jeremiah seems on the surface to be like a lovely partner, a lovely option for Belly. They're best friends, forever. He's so friendly and so warm, and he always puts other people first, to his own, emotional detriment at sometimes. But at the same time, I feel like that kind of relationship is very young. And I don't know that it's the kind of understanding or partnership that you want long term. And I don't know, that feels a little silly to say because they're teenagers, but I feel like when you see her with Conrad in season 2, they just have this sort of ease between them. Like they just sort of understand each other and this sort of level of comfort that seems to be there without them really trying and having to talk about it. And I really appreciate that.
I agree. I think that we have seen Conrad and Belly have more just conversations. We saw those flashback phone calls where they really talked about everything. Even in season 1, we saw them, coming together a lot, to talk. And I feel like we just haven't seen that with Jeremiah. We've seen them have a lot of fun together, which I think has been great. And he's somebody who clearly has always been there for her. And there is an ease with them. But I think with Conrad, she's loved him forever, first of all. Mm-hmm. And it's clear that she only goes to Jeremiah when things seem to not be working out well with Conrad.
Right. She didn't entertain that until Jeremiah said something and her dreams of Conrad were seemingly over. So
exactly. And power to her. I get that. Mm-hmm. But it's do you really like this guy? And you don't really see them connect on that level of just a little deeper, mm-hmm. Connect on a deeper level.
Yeah. I think a lot of the flashbacks really set us up for that too. We get that in season 1, that flashback of when they went to the boardwalk, or I think it might be season 2, but it happens in book 1. It's a scene that's described in book 1, but they make it a flashback in 2. When he goes to the ring toss game or whatever to see this cute girl, and he wins her a prize, and he's so hurt that she didn't come back. And then years later, he's hurt that she didn't want the same stuffed toy, even though it was something that he gave her back when he didn't like her. Their history means so much to him, and you can really see that. And I think that's very sweet.
Yeah, I think that you can tell, and they show this in those flashbacks, you can tell that he has always felt something for her, mm-hmm. felt a connection to her. And maybe it wasn't always feelings of love the way that she felt for him, but I think it's clear that they have always been drawn to each other.
Yeah, the infinity necklace. Can we talk about that?
I want to buy an infinity necklace now. They're selling them on the Amazon shop. I cannot I keep looking at this shop like I'm buying all this stuff from the show.
I think it's hilarious because like that's just one of those things where this book was so clearly written years ago, back when like every girl was getting that infinity tattoo or whatever. And it was like a new thing. The infinity symbol was like a new, I don't know, or at least
it wasn't the big tattoo.
Right, it wasn't passé anymore. Whereas now I'm like, oh really? But I guess the benefit of it now is that this happened when they were children, so it was years ago, which I'll allow it.
I like too that they give us like a good explanation of like what that means to them, which I really like. I do feel like everything is really set up well in the show, where everything does, for the most part, like have meaning. It's not just like a random like infinity necklace thrown out there that he wanted to buy for her. It was like from their past. And I think that that's something that this show does do really well. And I just don't think that she has that type of history with Jer. I think that they've always had fun together, have always liked each other, but I just don't think there's that history there. I do have a theory.
Okay.
And this might be, maybe a little controversial. There's no data backing up this theory.
Oh, even better.
But, just kind of something I was thinking about. I have a theory that if you were born pre 9/11, you're Team Conrad. And if you were born post 9/11, you are Team Jeremiah. Again, I have no data backing this up. Just a thought.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying. And that's my theory. I stand by it. Again, with no evidence, no nothing. But that is, that's what I think. I think that, I do think that the younger girlies are more Team Jeremiah.
Should I ask my Gen Z coworker? Because I know she watches the show. Okay.
Was she born pre or post 9/11?
Oh my God. I don't know. I don't know how old she is. I think post. I'd have to check.
Okay.
I'll report back. I'll check in with her. I'll be like, when's your birthday? And also, what team are you on? I do know she watches the show, and I believe also read the books. So
great. So we will follow up on this on our next episode to see if my theory is correct.
We're going to do some research on this, some scientific empirical evidence.
We're going to pull some data.
By that, I mean one person.
I think, too, just like we've gotten so many emotional scenes with Belly and Conrad this season. I mean, the flashbacks. I mean, I brought up the phone calls. I mean, the scenes in the beach house over the Christmas break, I just think are some of the best scenes of a couple on a teen show that we've ever gotten. Like, I think that they're so good. From making the cocoa to the snow on the beach, even though that song wasn't used. I'm a big Invisible String girl, though, so I loved it. And I think that also just shows that they are more meant to be with using the song Invisible String. Like, come on.
So I texted you when I watched that episode, and I was like, why didn't they use Snow on the Beach? It's right there. But I do understand what you're saying with Invisible String, that it does lean towards them being meant to be. And also that allows them to do Snow on the Beach in the future episode as a flashback. I saw a TikTok about this. It's not my own theory, but the line where it's like, this scene is what I once saw on a screen. And so she's in the party and she's like looking around between the two and she's like thinking back about previous stuff. I don't know if that makes sense. I didn't articulate it very well, but
no, I know what you mean.
That episode was so again, I didn't read the books, but you did tell me that there is something that happens in season 2 of the show that was not in the books. And I immediately was like, there's going to be some sex. Because I just sort of like, Jenny Han, To All the Boys trilogy, there's no sex in that trilogy. And I was like, that seems like a safe bet that there's very little in this series as well. But I didn't expect it in episode 2. I was surprised by that.
I loved it. I love that they had sex.
No,
they did not have sex in the books. And when I watched that, I think I literally like sat up and was like, oh my God, like, are they doing it? Like, I think they're going to do it. And I thought it was so good. I think it makes sense. Like, she's been in love with this guy forever. At this point, they've been like dating for like a couple months at least on the phone, blah, blah, blah. Like,
right.
I just think that's realistic in that moment that she would want to have sex with him. So
agreed.
I thought that was great. I do think, though, it ups the stakes now. Like,
I know.
Holy shit.
About it, yeah. It makes it, because he's not just this boy she's kissed a few times or whatever else. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. And then we get in this most recent episode when he references that to her. He says, I would hate for you to regret what happened that night. And she's like, no, like, I don't regret anything. I don't regret any of our time together. But the fact that, like, they specifically reference that is like, woof. That was a gut punch.
I love that scene. Because, in the first couple episodes of this season, we get some Belly Conrad scenes, but they're not really, like, talking about stuff, Mm-hmm. They're just kind of, like, existing by each other. They are having some fun, which I thought was good to see. But they weren't, they were ignoring all the stuff. And I thought in the last couple episodes, the scene where Belly's drunk on the beach... and then in the latest episode, when they then are talking about that scene and he's talking about how he has regrets. I mean, I just thought those scenes with them are so good. And like, God, they just like hit you right in the heart. Like, I love that they're like communicating and they're not fully communicating the way you want them to. No one is like saying their feelings and it's so frustrating, but I'm like, at least they are like,
acknowledging that there's stuff there, that there's history or there were feelings, Yeah.
I agree. Belly is kind of like a little blind, don't you think? He's basically telling her that like he still has feelings for her. Like in that scene, he's saying he has regrets. If he could have done it differently, he would have done it differently. Like, hello?
I think so. But I also think like she at that point, because she had a similar conversation with Jeremiah about how badly she hurt him and how badly, like, she screwed that up, and she sort of makes these promises, like, I'll never, I put Conrad first, and I didn't even think about you. I'll never do that again. I'm so sorry. You're my best friend. And so I think that she's trying to be so conscious of that, and she doesn't want to get hurt again. So she's just, like, not allowing for the possibility of that Conrad still cares about her, still loves her.
I think that is something that you can do too at that age of like, you just don't even like allow it to like enter your brain that he could still have feelings. Like you just push it aside because you like don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I do think that's like pretty realistic. Let's talk a little bit more about the latest episode. Episode 7. I mean, a lot happened in this episode. I loved it. I mean, we completely wrapped up the beach house plot, which I kind of loved. Like, let's just wrap that up in a nice tight bow. We hated Aunt Julia, now we love her. I don't know. Like that. That was a little bit of a quick flip for me.
But I'm okay with it.
But I kind of like that. Like, we just kept it moving. Like
same. Laurel comes in and she fixes everything real quick, and then she's like, Laurel. I love Laurel. I just want to say, great, like, ideal mom, honestly.
Yeah, I love Laurel. Even when she was slapping Belly, I was like,
it's been a tough year. Time for Laurel.
I thought, though, it was good that she more was acknowledging her feelings. And I'm glad that Laurel is, like, a full character and isn't just, like, the mom coming in, like, yelling at Belly and then hitting her and, like, that's it. Like, she is a full character going through all the feelings, all the emotions. And I did love that she came in and saved the day. And also, I'm kind of glad that, like, we're done with Aunt Julia and Skye. Like, I just really did not care about these two characters. I get it. I thought it was a good plot device with the beach house. Yeah. But I just really did not care about them that much. Yeah. So I think it's good. They kind of know when to say goodbye to characters on this show. They're like, it's been fun. You're out. And I like that.
Right. And I even with Taylor, like, I love Taylor, and I'm glad she was more in season 2. But this episode, she says, like, this feels like a family thing. I need to go. And I was like, yes, like, agreed. Like, you were great for a while, but now that, like, the fun part of it's done, like, time for her to go.
Yeah, I agree. I do also love when it's, like, the core 4 is there. I do think that, like, there is, like, certain, like, those scenes are pretty magical when it's just the 4 of them.
Yeah, because they have that history.
Exactly. And it's like, they're the ones that are, grieving Susanna the most. And I think that it was nice just to kind of like have them 4 together, and we see them having fun together and dancing and studying together. And you just do get such a sense of like the history there and everything that they've been through. So I really did love that. In this episode. Should we go to the final 5 minutes?
I just want to briefly touch on the fact that I both like appreciated the attempt at personal growth, but I hated the trope where Belly and Conrad are outside by the pool in those lounge chairs, and she decides to tell him that she's like, I think I have feelings for Jeremiah. And on the one hand, I'm like, this is great. Belly is trying to, avoid the mistakes of the past. She's trying to get ahead of it and just tell him how she's feeling and be honest about it. But then they do that fucking trope of like, oh, he fell asleep while she was talking to him. And it's like, I've seen that in so many movies, TV shows, whatever. And I'm like, come on. Like, and then she doesn't try again. And I get at the same time, I get why, because he's got to take his final. But I was just sort of a little frustrated by that when they try to show this growth and then they just undo it in the final 5 minutes, which we can.
No, I completely agree with you, because I did feel like if she was going to tell him in that moment, I think then she would have like stuck to that.
Right.
And told him then before she moved forward with Jeremiah. And I think that like, and she was the one, really kind of pursuing Jeremiah in that last scene, I thought.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I thought that was like super frustrating. And she really kind of like flip-flop. Like it did just seem like, why don't you just like talk to him about this before you
make out with his brother?
Fuck this whole thing up, literally.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I mean,
honestly.
Jesus. Like, it was, and I think though that is like, they up the dramatic factor in the TV show, like for sure. But it is just like a little frustrating because it is like, oh God, you were like going to do it. So I think he would continue with that. And he fell asleep in that like 2 seconds. Like, okay.
No.
I hate a sleeping thing. I think it's so like.
It's so dumb.
It's just kind of like a cheap storyline device.
But
I also thought it was confused. Like, I don't know. It's confusing of her feelings of like, because you do feel like sense that she has feelings for Conrad in the scenes with Conrad. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I just sort of wonder like, where do these feelings for Jeremiah come from?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because in season 1, it really seems like she doesn't even consider him until, Conrad rejects her, and then he confesses his feelings, so she knows that she's secure in that. Like, she knows Jeremiah likes her, so her pursuing that is safer. And we don't ever really get, like, they're barely together. But then, like, in season 2, she's like, oh, I think I like him, but, like, why? We don't really get a why. Like, I guess it's that friendship thing, and he, jumps on the Tower of Terror with her, even though she's scared, which is nice, but I'm like, is that enough to fuck things up all over again?
I think we needed like more scenes with them together or something for me to really get on like Team Jeremiah. Because I will say in the books, I was a little bit like, oh, okay. Like I don't hate this. Like, because I think it felt a little bit more of a slower burn. And I think in the show, it seemed like all of a sudden she just like flip-flopped to Jeremiah. And it is confusing on where those feelings exactly came from when you hadn't even like been talking to him all year and you were dating his brother. And then it's like you spend a little bit of time with him and then now you have like feelings for him. Because she really has been the one more pursuing him. So I do agree. I think it is like a little confusing. I almost kind of wish that they would have done it where she would have dated Jeremiah first. Like, I think that if she would have dated Jeremiah, like after they'd kissed in the pool and a couple times in season 1, like they dated then, and then she went to Conrad after that.
Yeah,
like,
that would have made sense.
I think that would have made a little bit more sense, and it would have gotten me maybe like a little bit on Team Jer. And I know that's like completely changing the plot line and whatnot, but it just seems like literally like if you watch season 1 and 2 like back to back, it is like flip flop.
Oh,
like,
yes.
It's a little wild. So that brings us to the final scene in this episode where they are making out on Conrad's car in his sweatshirt, which is so wild to me.
It is so disrespectful. I was
waiting for
so
him.
Angry.
Like they were waiting for him to get out of the exam. Poor Connie's taking this exam, worried he's not going to get into Stanford anymore, carrying the world on his shoulders. And walks out to see his ex and his brother making out, and heavily making out. Okay,
yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought the makeout was kind of hot.
It was passionate, for sure.
It was, yeah. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it's so interesting to me because there's that scene earlier where they're in the car, they're on the way to Brown, and she's like, I'm cold, and he just hands her that sweatshirt, like, without thinking. Like, it's reflexive, and that's what I mean, like, with their relationship. Like, it's just so easy. Like, he, is thinking of her and doesn't really have to make an effort. And then later, when she and Jeremiah are, like, going to Finch, she walks out of the bookstore, and she pulls up this hoodie that she just bought. And in my brain, I'm like, oh, is she gonna, like, switch into that hoodie? Like, but she's so oblivious. She's just wearing this brown sweatshirt around, rolling in the grass, getting it all dirty, and then goes and makes out with Jeremiah in Conrad's sweatshirt on Conrad's car in full view, like not even in
full
the car
view.
or like anywhere, like just on like the hood of anyone.
While you're waiting for him, like
right,
he obviously
he's
can
coming.
come out any second. Like, I mean, I will say the scene is like it's very similar to how it was in the books. Okay. So they really, I think, wanted to like stay true to that. But I mean, wow, it was drama. Like, I mean, I love it. I'm smiling right now. Like, it was such a good scene, I will say. I mean, where do we go from here? Like, what is the next episode going to be? Like, what are your predictions for this last episode of season 2?
Part of me thinks that it's going to be similar to the way that season 1 ended, where she ultimately is like, I'm hurting you both again. Like, this is just a bad idea. I can't do this. She's pulling a Kelly Taylor season 5 of Beverly Hills 90210 when she's like, I choose me. And she says no to both of them and walks away. But,
I hate that. I just hate when it's like, I choose me. It's like, but no, I mean, that is a good point. Like, and then maybe we'll open up like season 2 or season 3. Like, yeah. And
fresh.
Maybe then she'll be with somebody by then. That happens a lot.
Yeah. That they're with somebody completely new and they're, both of the other two love triangle options are sort of at a loss and they have to win her back from the new guy or whatever. Yeah, that is a common thing. We
are deviating from the books a bit, so I don't want to go like completely off what the books is. Like, I mean, we don't really know what will happen. I don't even know if they've written it yet. But for the last episode of season 2, I'm predicting that they go back to the beach house for the 4th of July. They're all there because that was a little bit teased later on of like, when can we all come back here? And they said for the 4th. So I'm wondering if we're going to get a 4th of July for the last episode. And I think Connie is going to say he's going to Stanford. I do think there's going to be a lot of scenes of Belly with Jeremiah talking, Belly with Conrad talking. I definitely think Steven's going to be very upset. As, a number 1 Team Conrad fan, I think we're going to get maybe a bit of him and Belly too. So I do think we're going to end on season 2 with like some form of like big event type of thing of them all coming together. And like, I'm sure like Connie's going to be like, I'm not going there for the 4th of July. And people are going to be like, you have to come. Like maybe something like that. Maybe they're doing something to like memorialize Susanna or something that they all come together. But so I think we're going to get something like that. And yeah, I do think we're going to get a lot of Belly and her feelings.
I'm fine with that.
Do you hate Belly now? She's getting a lot of hate on the internet.
No, because I think that she's 16 and she's, just trying to follow her heart and figure her shit out. And I think she's maybe a little careless and doesn't always think things through, as we discussed, where like she didn't follow through with that plan to talk to Conrad. She just went out and kissed Jeremiah knowing that Conrad could have walked up. But I don't think she's trying to hurt anyone. And I think that kind of understanding and awareness of other people's feelings and thinking a few steps ahead, just something that you have to, it comes with age and it also comes with experience.
I kind of like that she's messy. I don't want to watch like a 16-year-old who like is doing the right thing every time and has it together. I think that the messiness makes sense. And I mean, she's got these 2 hot brothers going after her. It's a little complicated.
Right. Like, they're all going to be fine.
Yeah, they're all, yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, we got a great scene of them all dancing and having fun together the last up. I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna get this in this final ep, but I hope so. I hope we have some fun in the middle of all this mess that we have. I also do wonder too, just one final thought. Like, I wonder if Belly, like, inside maybe knew that he could walk out at any minute. Like, I think she's trying to do anything to get over Conrad, and maybe she wanted him to see a little bit. That's my final thought. Final thought on that.
I love it. I love that you're just dropping the mic and walking away with that.
Yep.
That theory.
That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got for today. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Please send us all your thoughts on The Summer I Turned Pretty. We are loving season 2. We are so sad that it is going to end. But don't you worry. Well, we will be doing an episode on the season 2 finale, specifically on this. So we will be able to really break down that last episode, which I'm literally counting down the days.
I'm so excited. So excited. I cannot wait.
So yeah, everyone follow us on Instagram, previously on _Teen TV.
Please remember to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast and rate and review. Give us a good rating. Just be nice. Be a friend.
We would love that. And we'll be back next week with another ep. Thanks for listening.